So he offered his tomb. The one that was meant for him, he offered it for the Savior. And now it's a race against time. You see, first Joseph had to go to Pilate, and he had to ask for permission to take the body. Then they had to remove the body from the cross. Finally, they placed the body in some linen burial clothes, and they laid it in the tomb. And they were able to find a few spices right away, and he used them. But it wasn't enough. The women went home and mixed up some more, but then the Sabbath came, and they had to stop. It was sundown. No more work could be done. They had to wait an entire day before they could finish applying spices to the body. Can you imagine what it must have been like for these people on the Sabbath? Did they worship in the temple? Were they able to listen to the sermon that day? Did they hear the readings? Did their minds constantly travel back to the tomb and the unfinished business that they had with Jesus' body? What kind of grief did they feel as they waited for the day to get over? How well did they sleep that night? Did they sleep at all, or did they just toss and turn all night waiting for the day to come? Finally, the day came. Our text tells us they were already on their way to the tomb when the light of the sun began to wash the twinkle of stars out of the sky. They were nearly to the tomb when the sun finally began its ascent into the sky. They were on their way to continue the work. It was interrupted when the sun disappeared from the sky on Friday. What they discovered was a shock. First, they saw the stone rolled away from the tomb. Then, when they entered the tomb, they couldn't find the body anywhere. Well, the only logical assumption they could make was someone had desecrated the tomb. They'd moved or disposed of the body in some way. Then, when their despair was at its deepest, when their emotions totally surrendered to the frustrating helplessness of the situation, a couple of men suddenly appear in clothing that shone like lightning. While they were perplexed about this, behold, two men stood by them in dazzling apparel, and as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, Luke tells us. When the women were imagining the worst, God sends his angels to tell them the best. Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Then the angels reminded them, remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified and on the third day rise? It's as if a key turned in a lock and the door opened. It's as if the lights finally came on in a dark room. Now the words Jesus had told them about his suffering, his death, his resurrection came flooding back to them, and they all finally made sense. Jesus had risen, just like he always promised he would. The unexpected news is the greatest news of all time. What a reversal this is. The friend